I don't really look at results as much anymore. Happy about a great result for sure, but being they don't, when you only get to go to the ice cream store once a year, you want to eat the whole thing, right? And so I want to run all the laps and see the checkered flag, and I'll be happy about that.
All right, we'll go ahead and go to media for questions. We're going to try to sneak in as many questions as we can in the time that we have. We will start up front here with Bob and then go to Kelly.
Bob Pockris, Fox Sports. In that bucket of ice cream, are you eating it as if you may never eat out of that bucket again?
Well, I'm not planning on racing next year. I'll be foolish to say I'm never going to run again because I don't know well enough to stay away from it, and I'll probably miss it next year and be absolutely willing to sign up to anything that might be beneficial to junior motorsports. I have to remind fans and people that follow us that I run this race and have ran this race over the last several years because of the big benefit that it is to junior motorsports. It's a package deal where Hellmann's and Unilever has put their logos on Justin's car, and it's helped feel out that car. And so if it, I don't have a requirement to run next year, so I may just not do it and sort of, and I will miss it terribly, regret that I didn't race, and probably in 2026 find me somewhere that I can go compete in the Xfinity Series again. But right now I don't have any plans, but that's kind of the way I like it. If a partner comes together with a package that helps one of the other cars fill out multiple races that we have some inventory, I'm absolutely on board to doing a race for that reason alone. So I'm not against it at all. Just right now we don't have any responsibility. Hellmann's is not requiring me to run that race next year to continue their partnership. So I'm just gonna see how badly I miss it and see. I mean, I figure I only got a handful of these years left to be relatively somewhat competitive, but I'm gonna be fine. I found what I love, to be honest with you, driving that late model stock car. I mean, the things that I'll enjoy tonight are there as well, and I can go some grassroots racetrack and have a good time and enjoy what I love about driving cars just the same. So I'm going to continue to do that next year as well.
All right, we're going to go up front to Kelly and then to Zach over here to my left.
Kelly CrandallRacer.com. Dale, to expand on that about next year, not planning on racing next year, you had said on the podcast you really want to focus on, of course, the new partner coming in. Just kind of your expectations or vision for what that's going to look like and the work you want to put in with a new partner to come in strong next year.
As far as a sponsor?
No, the TV work.
Oh, sorry. Well, that's probably another good reason not to race. I really, really loved working with NBC, and I miss it terribly. I miss them. We had so much fun, and it's everyone there from Sam all the way down, just really great people. And but I never, it was kind of one of them jobs where you're always kind of critical of you're critical of it, and I never really felt like a veteran or felt like I was 100% sure exactly what was coming at me every single weekend. So you over prepare and you try to be ready as you can be, because that was really the only way that I would be more confident, is to feel like I'd turned every page. And so when I'm not doing that this year at all, I feel like a bit, I feel a little bit nervous, I guess, about jumping back in there next year and getting right to it. With the NBC deal, we had 20 races to sort of get our sea legs, and I felt personally like I wasn't really doing the job as well as I wanted to until we got toward the final 10 races. And man, we'd get to Phoenix and go, wow, we're just really hitting our stride and it's over. It took us so many races to feel like we had worked out all of the kinks, but we don't have that luxury next year. It'll be a real quick 10 race sprint with 2 different partners that want to do things slightly different. So really it's 2 5-race sprints. And I think just trying to make sure that we as a group are doing a bunch of mock runs and a lot of preparation leading up to that, so that, you know, we try to hit the ground in that first race and have a good product right away is going to be really important to me. So I want to devote a lot of time and bandwidth to that. And so trying to dial back some of the hobbies is probably going to be beneficial to making sure we're good when we get back in the booth and we're, you know, feeling comfortable about that.
Okay, we're going to go to Zach and then Dustin, if I can get a microphone over here. Go ahead, Zach.
Zach Albert, NASCAR.com, way to your left, Dale. Wanted to ask you about Martin Truex Jr. as he wraps up his full-time career, and I know you guys go way back as teammates. And what did you see in him as he was coming up that was like, hey, this guy could be a champion one day?
Richie Gilmore told me that he had a guy he was paying attention to and that he wanted me to watch. And so Richie was the one that was having some early conversations with Truex and his father. So I started watching Martin. He was running some one-offs in his own car. And so I think he ran Richmond and Homestead, maybe a few more races. But I'm the Chance 2 program that I was part owner in with Teresa was I had a lot of influence. We put Hank Parker Jr. in the car for 8 races. It was just a really fun program that we really could do about anything we wanted. We had no real limitations in terms of partners or whatever. It was just whoever we wanted to drive the car, and so we did some fun stuff. But so it was real easy to go, all right, yeah, let's give this guy a shot. I didn't really know a ton about Martin. I'd heard his dad's name multiple times over the years, but I believed in Richie. Richie and I really trusted Richie and thought the world of him, still do. And felt like that, great, let's do it. Let's take this guy in and see what he can do. And we went to Richmond, I think, for his first race. I had the hood off of that car in my garage. And so that ought to tell you what I think about Truex. Just a great guy, easy, no controversy, not worried about what he's doing when he's not with you or at the track. Not a guy that's going to get himself in trouble media-wise. Found a really, really great partner in Bass Pro and Johnny Morris that is an incredible fit because he lives that life. That's what he does. He's hunting and fishing all the time. And so he's a terrible communicator. But every time I'm around him, he's a great friend. You know, I really enjoy being around him. We're talking about trying to figure out how to get together this year to hunt. We got a place together that we've had for several years. And so I don't ever hear from him. But when I'm around him, man, he's just such a great guy and a lot of fun to be around. And we have such a long history. There's so much trust built up and can kind of bounce anything off each other. But I kind of like, where he's at in his life. He's made some changes personally and physically, spending a lot more time back where he was born, and seems to be really enjoying that and being around some of his friends from back in the day, going out and fishing and doing things that he's been wanting to do. Being a Cup driver is incredible. It's all you ever want, but man, even today it requires every day, every hour. I'm rambling, but I was at the sim for my 1-hour session, and I ran into Austin Dillon, and he's like, yeah, I'm here every Monday for a couple hours, and I'm here every Tuesday for 3 hours. And every week he's missed 3 sessions this year. I mean, the things that the Cup drivers have to do or are required to do, you used to feel like you worked on the weekend, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was your weekend, right? Everybody else was going to their 9 to 5, and you had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off, but it ain't the case anymore. Those guys are working crazy hours doing things during the week, and I'm excited for Martin to sort of get out from under that, and just kind of go do what he wants to do. And I think he can still be professionally successful because of his connection to Bass Pro and his interest in hunting and fishing. And I think that he'll enjoy whatever's next. And I know he still loves to race, and he'll do that whenever and however much he wants.
All right, Dustin?
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Dale, as you move on to the next chapter of your life, where is the idea of junior motorsports being a cup program or being involved in a cup program? Is that door shut, or is
No.
that more open than ever, or where are you in
Door's about where it's been for the last handful of years. You know, it's you just never know what when the phone rings, what's going to be on the other end of that call these days, especially. And there's a ton of new interest that's coming into the sport, and with the new agreement, that'll churn up a bunch of potential partners that have been kind of looking at the sport and waiting on that agreement to happen to see really where the dollars net out. And we may be able to latch on to some of that momentum and some of those happenings. We may not. Some other programs may benefit from it. Some programs that are already in the sport probably already benefiting from some new partnerships and investments, Gibbs and Trackhouse and so forth. So, yeah, we're just kind of like hanging out, and it's not like it's not a. If it doesn't happen, I don't know that it will be a massive regret of mine, but we race. Me and Kelly talk about it all the time. We race. We're born into this. This is who we are. We're always going to be this. And so, if we end up presented with an opportunity that feels really good, we would certainly be interested in doing it. And we just, but if it doesn't materialize, it doesn't materialize, and we'll just we're happy where we are. We love being in the Xfinity Series. You got opportunities to work with young drivers, and although they're only there for a moment, it's such a cool thing being just a part of their story. And you can look in the garage mechanics, engineers, crew chiefs, and drivers in the top series and see a lot of people that have come through our program. Makes you feel good that you're an asset. Somebody's got to be there in that space, right? Helping give a platform for people to get to the cup level. So I kind of love that, and it would be hard to turn that off.
All right, Jordan?
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. You're stepping into a race car that won last week. What's the pressure?
That's a wind sticker on the roof that I didn't put on there. It's going to be weird. Yeah, that's a fun word, man, pressure. I put too much pressure on myself. I don't know what, I don't know what to expect. I just need to get in the car and drive it. I think that's when I can't really tell what kind of day I'm going to have until I can climb behind the wheel, pull off pit road, and start loading the suspension and getting around the racetrack a little bit, get my bearings. But I'm okay that those kids are faster or better. I want them to be. I want Connor and Carson and all these guys that I find myself around to be amazing and successful, and so I don't really feel like I compete with them, or I don't really put that type of pressure on myself. But the pressure for me comes from, don't get yourself in a wreck. Don't do something where you're not going to run all the laps, right? Don't do something that you can control that doesn't get you what you want at the end of the day. And so that's really the only pressure I feel, is just trying to make sure I'm smart. Racecraft is a thing that you develop over time, but when you don't race all the time, you do kind of lose some of the good common sense decision making and judgment that you use out on the racetrack. And so and then there's other drivers. Their last race of the regular season, you're trying to make sure you don't put anybody in a bad spot. But I'm excited. Connor has been awesome to be around, just so mature. Looking forward to next year. He'll be here and gone if everything works like it's supposed to. But it'll be a fun little, 12 to 24 months, whatever that happens to be. And if we get Quapple up there, I feel excited about him as I do Connor, because we've kind of developed Carson ourselves with our car store program. So hopefully, yeah. I mean, I love seeing them run good, and of course want them to win. And I understand at 50 years old and doing this once a year for the last handful of years, I think I watched the race last year, and I'm like, Justin and them guys, they're in the cars every single week. They know when they go into turn 3 and run the top, they know exactly how much lateral grip to expect and can push the car right to the limit. And I'm like, I got to work up to it like for 5 or 6 laps. So I'm always out there sort of like working up to that level of, running as hard as you can. So that's just a handicap that you're going to have when you don't do it every single week.
All right, I'm going to do my best to fit 3 more questions in before we have to let Dale go. We're going to go, okay, Mark's good. Okay, we're going to go Lee and then Matt Weaver, and I think that's going to be all I have time for. Okay, Lee's right here in the Flowerty shirt. There we go.
Lee Spencer, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio on CatchFence.com. Justin Allgaier, you've been such an advocate for him, and he's had an incredible year, 14 stage wins, has a 43-point lead in the regular season title. How disappointing will it be to you if he never gets that championship? Because, I mean, you're there, you're his buddy, you have your arm around him. I mean, we see it every year, but it's like, what more can you do, can JRM do to get him past that finish line?
Well, I really believe that he is I believe he's in the best possible position to win it. Him and Jim have really they've got a past and a trust in each other. And when he asked to have Jim as his crew chief, I was like, all right, you're picking your guy. And man, it has been as good as you could hope. I know, if you just look at the stat sheet, you can say, there's an issue in stage 3 for a handful of races where they swept the stages but don't get the result. But I look at just the car's speed. When he unloads and they go through the process of the weekend, he's had some really, really great race cars comparable to our other cars. I feel like, Jim's exceeding or overachieving a bit in some moments. And so, I'm not really worrying about if he don't win it. I'm more saying in the next handful of years, I think he's got the best shot he's ever had to do it, and I would not, I would be surprised if he didn't. If he doesn't win a championship in the next couple of years with where we are as a team and him and Jim and where they're doing, I will be a little bit surprised. But I will say, man, we've made some great decisions in our company, but hiring Justin was one of those. He has been so professional, just represents all our partners so well. Everybody that's ever connected to him with Unilever or obviously Brandt that he's cultivated on his own, all the other partners that have ever been on his car, they love him. He's perfect. He handles all that stuff so well. And he's measured in his criticism when things don't go well. He doesn't do something or say something that, is difficult for you as an owner or the team or the organization. So he's just so good, and I'm thankful for that. So I'm wanting to help him get this championship because I know it means a lot to him. But I think we're putting him in a really good position to do that.
All right, and we'll take our final question here from Matt Weaver.
Matt Weaver, Sportsnot. A lot of the talk this week has been about the racecraft and driver code, things of that nature. I'm curious, as you've sat down and just been a fan this year watching, how do you evaluate where we are? And is this level of aggression and the things we're seeing in overtimes and on road courses, is this just who we are now, and is this sustainable?
I talked about this on my show this week. And I've heard since some great points by some of the Cup drivers. I always love I love when the Cup drivers weigh in on these topics because, they're the ones out on the racetrack, and they've certainly been thinking about this, maybe not speaking it publicly, but I think Christopher Bell mentioned the bodies of the cars and how, years ago, or just not too many years ago, the Cup car, you didn't want to touch the body. You didn't want to touch the wall or another competitor. The downforce and aero and side force was so critical, and any kind of imperfection in the body was going to be an issue for you the rest of the day. And now we have these composite bodies, and you just beat the hell out of them. And in all every series except for the trucks, So the same way for late model stock racing. When I think about that, we used to have those steel bodies on those cars, and now everything's plastic and fiberglass, and you just drive right on through the guy in front of you, and watch the fiberglass fly apart and keep on digging. Everybody's fine, But except for except for the bill that you get from 5-Star. So I mentioned that on my show. I was like, even the Cars Tour guys were telling me that because of how it's gotten more aggressive, mainly due to the tire and how everybody runs the same speed and it's hard to pass. We've heard that before in some other series as well. You have to be aggressive. The only way to get through or around the guys to be aggressive with them. But the cost of the bodies for the teams the cost of racing has went up about 15-20% just due to replacing nose pieces, bumper bars, doors and fenders and all that stuff more so than they ever have. And so they're doing those repairs more often this year. And so I think that's a great way to look at the Xfinity Series or the Cup Series is. They've learned how durable the car is, how physical they can get. They get more. You're just going to continue to push that line as a driver, and I think that it is important for an organization or governing body, whether it be the Cars Tour or NASCAR, to really, really be as strict as they possibly can stand to be at the lower levels. So if you're racing grassroots in the modifieds or wherever you may be, or in the ARCA series, especially in the truck series, you almost have to kind of go overboard on the penalties and reprimanding drivers for doing things we don't want them to do, because those drivers are going into the next the Xfinity Series and eventually the Cup Series, and those are the if they have habits that they don't necessarily need to have, we need to break them habits at that level. And so that's part of it as well. So it's on everybody. Drivers bear responsibility. What type of race car you drive and how durable it is bears responsibility. The governing body bears responsibility, and everybody kind of has to work together. At the same time, with all that said, as a series owner and you're looking at eyeballs. We're for the Cars Tour, we're looking at flow and our numbers. I mean, we want people to tune in. We want them to tune in because they want to see some action and great racing. So there's a very unique balance to find. And we talked about it on our show. Like last week was probably a great example of the right amount of aggression at the end of the Cup race at Watkins Glen. A little more would have been fine, but there are some moments where it's too much, and I think NASCAR's made some decisions to try to quell that. But you have to have some aggression. We definitely want cars to be leaning on each other and beating on each other, but it does get pretty careless. And there's a lot of the stuff that is really, really bad doesn't make television because it's nasty back there in 20th, 25th, 30th. At the end of these races, it's just crazy. And a lot of that stuff, it doesn't even get on the air. But yeah, I can't really put the responsibility or the fault on one thing. It's a lot of different variables. And it will cycle. So this will be the way it is for a while, and then we'll cycle back toward you go ahead, depending on how the racing changes, the tires, the cars and stuff like that. The give or take may come back, and everybody may adopt this sort of Mark Martin style, because that's what happened when I started racing. I mean, I grew up in the 80s. I grew up watching the 80s, 90s, rougher than hell, everybody pushing each other around. You loved it. You thought it was awesome. And a lot of drama and great sound bites after the races. And then Mark Martin trained everyone to drive the same way. And it was crazy. Right when I came into the Cup Series, it was like, hey man, there's a lot of give and take here. This is how we race. We don't race like you've been racing. You're gonna change. Watch Mark Martin. And so, Mark and a bunch of other guys as well kind of ushered in this entirely new mentality that really stuck around for a while. But that's gone away, but it would absolutely cycle back around once this crescendos into whatever it becomes, some problematic issue at a race. If Richmond didn't do it, somewhere else we'll have a massive situation or high drama at the end of one of these races, and the narrative starts to begin with the media and all of us talking about how this is crazy, this is too wild, it'll start trending the other direction and cycling back toward a little bit cleaner. But I think there's a healthy balance of all of aggression and contact that I like to see on the racetrack. Yeah.
All right, Dale, thank you so much for your time. We